it's thinking about me. Where's the camera? It's about halfway done. Go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ACE Facebook Flash Forward. My name is Jackie Crockford. I'm very excited to be joined by our panelists today, Brett Klicka. Brett, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me here, Jackie.
Brett has been with us before, and if you're watching now, maybe you've seen Brett around in the fitness industry and also with ACE. He's been a great subject matter expert for us for a number of years and is the co-founder of SpiderFit Kids. Brett, we're having you back here today to talk about what it's been like over the past couple of years. We're sort of revisiting several conversations that ACE has had from about 2 years ago now. Can you believe it's been 2 years?
I can't. My wife and I were just talking about this. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier something about, this is a little bit like Groundhog's Day. And I think a lot of people are feeling that sentiment. So with SpiderFit Kids, just remind us a little bit about what that is and sort of what you're doing in your career right now.
So for years, I worked in the training space. And many of you know Todd Durkin. I was working with Todd Durkin and designing youth fitness opportunities, whether it be for sports camps, whether it be things through schools. And I got to a point where I realized, wow, there is a need beyond just our local community for opportunities for kids to become active. And outside of sport, yes, I do a lot with sports, but I was looking for how do we get more kids active? And that's when we formed SpiderFit Kids, which really is we aim to inspire the educators. And so we are personally, SpiderFit is not out doing youth fitness camps per se. That's not a big part of our business model. But what we do is we provide education, whether you're a coach, whether you're a PE teacher, a parent, a classroom teacher, anyone who has the opportunity to impact the health of kids. We want to give you the ideas and inspiration and even a framework that's not just a bunch of stuff thrown together, but it's actually a built together curriculum on how you can get kids to learn the basic movement skills, and beyond just learning them, have fun doing it so that it's something that they want to do for the rest of their life and not just when a teacher or a coach or a parent is standing over them making them do it. And I had the opportunity to work with many of the national sports organizations for youth sports, anywhere from USA Football, USA Lacrosse, USA Field Hockey, USA Speed Skating. It's exciting to see them in the Olympics now because their developmental program is the SpiderFit stuff. But we also work with commercial organizations, individual gyms. We certify trainers from all over the world with our youth physical literacy specialists. So really, we're a big push for education. And beyond education, just inspiring the educators, inspiring those who work with kids to understand their opportunity that they have, whether you're within the family, whether you're at the school, or whether you're within sports. And so it's been the last couple of years, we've seen tremendous growth because I think that it's been the need for this has been magnified. The need for youth fitness and attention to youth health has been magnified by the pandemic. So it's been a busy couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I think in these past couple of years, since you and I sort of had our first conversation around, how things have shifted or how they initially shifted rather at the beginning of the pandemic, let's talk a little bit first around sort of how they have shifted over these 2 years and what that looks like now for youth fitness and family fitness, because I think, part of what your role is and with SpiderFit Kids, and just, I know from your passion itself, keeping families active and keeping them active together is an important aspect of that. So how have things shifted and maybe not come to a rest, so to speak, but how have they sort of ended up and where are we at now with youth and family fitness compared to about 2 years ago?
Well, I think you make a good point there, Jackie, with the notion of family fitness. I've been doing this a long time, working with, like you said, my passion, my drive, my mission is to improve the health of kids. I have a daughter, I have an 8-year-old. I want to make sure she has the opportunities in her future to be healthy. But when you really look at what is going to help solve this problem on a large scale, I'm not just talking about for kids that have access to classes and what it really comes down to the family dynamic. Active, healthy kids come from an active, healthy culture of wellness at home. That's data. That's not just me coming up with little sayings. That is data. And it hits me every single time I go to, you go to look, okay, what is the data saying about what's going to create the greatest outcomes? It comes down to the health of the family. Kids mirror what we do as adults. And that goes beyond just physical health. It goes into, and so that's a great place to start with this. So let's look at statistically what's happened. But prior to the pandemic, we have a childhood obesity epidemic. However, we call that childhood obesity, but that's just sort of sweeping under this. I know these kids are getting overweight. I mean, what's happening? Well, no, we have an obesity epidemic. Our adults are overweight. And it's not so much just overweight, it's just poor health, poor accountability for our own health. And that's been passed down to our children. So in the last couple of years, they're starting to gather data. Canada was really the first out of the gate. They started questionnaire data about a year ago. Where are we at now? If prior to the pandemic, we had, in the States, we had about 18% of kids were overweight or obese. Canada was mirroring that. Well, in their early questionnaires about a year ago, it was anywhere from, depending on the data you looked at, anywhere from a 4% additional increase to 10%. Now, again, this was early data. It was questionnaire-based data. But now they're looking at, so just from a data standpoint, and it would follow common sense. I mean, with the lockdowns, with limited access, I mean, shoot, they had playgrounds shut down for a long time. I mean, with limited access to physical activity, we are going to see, it's going to happen. When the data finally catches up, when we finally see what's actually happening, we are going to see a drastic increase in not just childhood obesity, but in that negative health repercussions within the family. And that's one of the things that has been negative, in the last couple of years. The good news is, if we have awareness as a family, again, I want to keep saying this as a family, not just like, well, if these kids can just figure it out, if they could just stop eating the Cheetos that I buy for them and put in the cabinets and pour into a bowl for them, they should know better than that. I mean, this is what we are saying. And I'm not just saying everyone else, my own habits, I constantly have to look at and say, this is what I'm passing down to my daughter. So if we acknowledge this and we have awareness of this within the family, we can make change. This is a temporary blip. In 2 years, we saw a dramatic increase that is created an abnormality in the curve, so we can correct it. Again, it comes down to that taking accountability for our health as a family. Yes, there's things that, school lunches could improve and all these other things societally can improve, but it starts with taking ownership within our own family. There is good news with that. And part of that good news is that we don't really have to work out as a family per se. Honestly, if just getting back to some of the pre-pandemic positive, healthy habits, whatever those were for your family, maybe for your family, that did mean the whole family went to work out and play sports and do all these high level things, but maybe prior to the pandemic, you just were more active. Well, what were those things that you did? It's time to start making the decision as a family to start doing those things again, because we can all sit back and say, well, we don't know when this pandemic is over. We don't know when the next shutdown's coming. We don't know what the mask policies are. We don't know what this, and that is something that's largely out of our control. However, what is within our control, which is good news, is that we can control that within our own families. And so sometimes it takes pausing for a moment, saying, okay, what did we do before? What have we allowed to get in? What bad habits have we allowed in? And can we not so much think about getting rid of those bad habits, but can we replace them with some of the things that we used to do? So really, that's one of the things we've seen, that yes, there's an increase in obesity. We've seen there's been a decrease in activity. The good news is we can make a turnaround on that in a relatively short period of time. And one of the other positive things really in the last 2 years, it's made health a center of the conversation.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of it, whether it be for kids or whether it be for adults, it has come down to health is a matter of not just individual liberty. It's not just, health is not just a matter of individual, your choices of what you're going to do. Health comes down, it's an economic influence. It's a societal influence. It affects everyone's bottom line. And I think that's going to hopefully change the conversation that we have around health. And I'm hoping too that it goes beyond the notion of health as going to the gym.
Mhm.
I love the gym. I'm from that industry. I want to see people using those because they're very positive things. However, health is not just being single digit body fat. It's not eating perfectly. Health is not this regimentation. Health is a mindset. Health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that we as leaders in the fitness industry can shape that conversation responsibly and not just be self-serving in the sense that, well, health means you need to come do more personal training with me. And if you don't do the gym, you're lazy. And if you do go to the gym, you don't do high intensity interval training, you're wasting space. Like, I'm hearing these messages from the health industry. I'm hoping, and I've already heard there's been a major transformation I'm very proud of, but I'm hoping that that's something that comes out of this as well, is we're able to reshape our message in a more relevant way for more people. Because I'm telling you right now, more people have their ears open about the notion of health than they have since I've been in the industry. And I think that that's a positive thing, but we need to understand the opportunity we have. We also need to understand that we have the stage as health professionals. And so we need to make our message relevant.
Right. Yeah. I agree with all of that. And I think, to your point about what has happened over the last 2 years, there's been, as you're kind of alluding to, this ebb and flow of, people deciding and being capable or able or have the bandwidth or have just the access, different things in order to move and to be active. And as you just said, we have the opportunity and also maybe the responsibility as exercise professionals to help them understand what that health looks like for them. And I think I would add to what you're saying is that health, among all of the things that you mentioned, is also relative, right, to the individual person and to the family. It might look different from family to family or individual to individual. So our responsibility in that is very high. I think you're making a great point. And I want to understand a little bit more from your perspective around youth and family fitness, how things have ebbed and flowed over the course of the last 2 years with people's ability to stay active or be active or continue on with their goals. And as you're saying, the numbers and the research from Canada around obesity rates for our youth. What are some thoughts that you have around what people are doing or maybe continuing to do and sort of what might be considered a fight with the place that we're at right now within the pandemic?
Well, we started the pandemic and everything was shut down. And so we all experienced it. We tried to buy weights online. You tried to buy dumbbells or something. Everyone is, and these are even people that never have really exercised before, because this notion of being closed in at home, they started to go stir crazy. So they're like, well, I might as well exercise. And so I think that I'll tell you, the first 6 months of the pandemic, exercise was the center of the conversation. I mean, if you want to invest in the stock market, invest in some sort of at-home fitness thing, and you're going to get rich in that first 6 months to a year. So that tells you what the market was doing. And then the talk of the vaccine came. And again, when I'm talking about the involvement in fitness, I'm talking about the whole family. I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, with SpiderFit Kids, we did a PE for your living room on Facebook. We did it every day for a while. And we had kids from literally all over the world tuning in. And I was, I do this crazy things and and we have about 20 minutes long. And it was, it was over 100 kids viewing every day. And then even more watching the afterwards and then put on YouTube. It was such a great successful thing. Well, and because the parents then were going off and doing the Peloton or, doing it, whatever. And then it was talk of, okay, we're going to start opening things back up. We got this on the horizon. We have this vaccine. So people are like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I'm burnt out. I'm Zoom fatigued. I can't stare at a screen anymore. I'm going back. So then it's, okay, well, I'm going to go back to, the gym or whatever it was. Then we hit this weird little thing, because people weren't necessarily going back to work. So they didn't have that into their routine of leaving the house, and they leave the house, go to the gym. So they were expecting this big rush back to gyms as part of the New Year's type of thing. And the last 2 years, they haven't seen that sort of Black Friday effect of January 1st at gyms, because there's a lot of different reasons for it. Some people, mental health is complicated things to the point where they're almost afraid to leave the house. You play that into it. That's a major challenge. But I think the work from home dynamic is throwing a lot of things for a loop, because a lot of people, whether or not you don't have to go to a gym, you do not. However, most people see that as where you do fitness. So they're sick of staring at a screen. They just stared at the Zoom monitor all day. They don't want to do any more Zoom stuff. But they're like, but then I got to drive from my house to the gym. It's 15 minutes away. It's not on my commute anymore. And so they don't want to do that. And then if you live in a cold weather climate outside, and here I was complaining to you before this. I mean, we live in San Diego. This morning it was like 58, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go out in that. I mean, you get weak. But if you're in an actual cold weather climate, not us wimps here in San Diego, it doesn't sound great to go outside. And all of the members of the family are dealing with this. And then you got kids where sports was on and then it was off. And if you had the resources to send your kids to these private sports facilities or private camps, and that's something you could do. But even if you had resources, that starts to add up. And so you have some financial, with kids, adults, you can join a big box gym for $20 a month or $12 a month. There's not those opportunities for kids. And so with the kids, those opportunities were largely shut down. Kids aren't necessarily going to work out at home. They're on Zoom school all day. They're not supposed to go out and play with their friends. And then you can't, but now you can. And now you need to stay with your pot and all these different things. Parents are confused with the message. So we're in this disjointed sort of messaging / behavioral period now. So to move forward, it's easy to say, well, we just don't know when it's going to get back to normal. I'm just going to wait. Waiting has not really been a great strategy when it comes to the things that are good for us. If something can make your life better, then it doesn't behoove you to wait, whether it's for yourself or your kids. And so really to really creative, what's the next? Well, the next step is really for us to, as families, decide what our next step is. As the world's, the dynamics and the challenges, and those are going to be there. But as families, for us to decide what our next step is. Okay, let's say they mandate this, or okay, they're going to have mask here. Okay, well then what is our next step? What do we stand for? Okay, we are going to stay active. Here is how we are going to do that. So that's really looking at what have the challenges been, what have the dynamics been, but then what can we do to manage these crazy dynamics and move forward in a proactive way? And it comes down to us deciding as a family what's next for us.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's such an important conversation to have, as you're saying, as a family, regardless if that family, in a lot of circumstances, that family dynamic is very different, right? Sometimes there's 2 parents and 2 kids. Sometimes there's grandparents and no grandchildren, or there's just a whole bunch of different dynamics of people living in the same household these days. And what are some of the steps maybe that those families, regardless of their dynamic and that living scenario, could be to just maybe start those conversations or continue those conversations if they're maybe struggling with, well, we know we need to do something to stay healthy and to stay active and to make sure that we're all taking care of ourselves for each other. What does that look like?
Well, there's a quote, and forgive me for, I can probably attribute this later, but the quote is, act so loud they can't hear your words. Mm. And when it comes to the family, any dynamic, whether it be friend or family, the least impactful thing you can do is lecture. Okay, here's what you need to do. And here's what the best thing to do is just, you start to do it. If we don't want cursing in my family and I curse, if our house, we don't curse, we don't want my daughter to curse, and yet I'm just walking around cursing 24/7. That's not setting a great example. It's going to start, well, I need to, watch my mouth. And if that's an expectation. So if we have an expectation to be healthy, then it's going to start from me. And it's not going to, the language I use towards it, if I'm trying to model for my family, I'm not gonna say, oh, well, dad has to go run. So I gotta burn off that lunch. I better go run. Or I gotta eat this gross food because I'm on a diet. All that's saying is, and if I'm a kid, I'm looking at that and saying, oh my gosh, I hope I don't have to be punished with exercise or healthy food someday. I hope I'm good enough as to where I don't have to be punished. So it starts with, what is your personal attitudes and relationship? If you are in a mentor position, if you're in a leadership or a modeling position, a role model position, really. And then from there, it goes to showing you get back from a walk, or you get done doing a video, or you get off the bike, or you just something. Do they see your smiles? I feel great. You share it with them. And then you find out to make it relevant. Make it relevant for the kids. You guys want to go walk to the park? Do you want to go walk up to just something that makes it, but lecturing to our kids the importance of getting 20 minutes of exercise every day and getting your heart rate to this, that is the last thing we should do. It comes to modeling a positive attitude. It starts there, honestly. Jackie and you know this as well. I'll tell you, if most of the country would just go for a nice walk every day, we'd be in a completely different place.
Yep.
And so let's start there. Let's start with something, and your kids or whoever else that lives with you, your partner. It's not just kids. It could be your partner that you're just like, I want my partner to be healthier. Your partner looks at you and you're in a better mood. You engage with them at a different level. The relationship improves. They're gonna be like, I want some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at it and they say, that's doable. Don't drag them with you to your boot camp 5,000, Puke-O-Matic class. And so really that's really how it starts in the family is show by example. Don't lecture. And whenever you have an opportunity to tie positive outcomes or positive behavior to, you see, oh, mom's in a great mood. Oh my gosh, yes, just got down to the walk. It's not, I have to go do this. Just make it sound good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And I know for myself and probably a lot of other people who are watching, I know you're probably the same, that when you do get done with a stretch time or, a walk, like you said, or, a regular workout, there are those endorphins and things that make you feel so much better. And maybe even the simple act of just voicing that out to the people that your collective family is, where, kids, partners, grandparents, whoever, just recognizing those benefits just verbally might be a really great first step, as you said. So I love that. So we've got just another minute or two here with you, Brett, and I want to make sure that I know you're a busy guy, so we want to make sure that we're using your time well. And I wonder if you have any kind of words of wisdom, so to speak, for professionals who might be watching right now that, are working with families or are working with clients who obviously have families. Mm-hmm. What kind of words of wisdom would you share with them to help them sort of continue to navigate this process and this time frame that we're all in?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. There's the business side of things. There's the things that impact the actual professionals. And I think that right now it's a matter of, we've weathered a storm, and now it's just like I said, it's making a decision for families how you're going to proceed. I think it's making a decision for your business as to how you're going to proceed. And that's beyond just the X's and O's in the business. It's what is your stance or mantra on the definition of health for your clients? What are you trying to bring to your clients? And that goes, that expands into probably the centerpiece of your business should be more listening than talking. Being willing to listen to your clients' challenges, because right now it's mental health, it's physical health, it's emotional health, it's all these things. And that's just from your operation standpoint. From your client standpoint, understand that mental health challenges and struggles are at all-time highs right now. And our role is beyond just keeping people accountable to doing their diet journals and all these different things. When we listen to our clients and we understand where our role is in their life, then we can slowly work with them to make health and exercise even more relevant to them. I mean, relevant, one piece of relevance, yes, it feels great to be fit and go to the beach. That is cool. But that loses some relevance when in the middle of the pandemic, we got mortgages, our jobs are changing, the industries are changing, things like that. And so right now, I think empathy and compassion is important. And that doesn't mean we don't have expectation and hold them accountable. But I just think it's what we have expectation, hold them accountable for, and how we shape our message in a relevant way beyond our own. I mean, shoot, my approach to fitness is very different than, because I have a certain makeup and I need certain things, but I understand it's different from anyone I would work with. And so it's understanding and working to make it relevant in their life.
Wonderful. I love that. It's such a fun time, right, that we're in right now and continue to be. And so appreciate you kind of sharing some insights and what's happened over the past 2 years since we last spoke with you. And hopefully we'll maybe continue this conversation another 2 years from now, and we'll have some more additional learnings and insights from you. So thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Jackie.
Brett Klicka from SpiderFit Kids. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jackie.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for watching. Now we can get people moving.
Get moving.
That's right.